Welcome back, Crocodiles, to our overall Bendy Theories Part 4. Now let's move on, because we have more things to cover.
Alright.
We're going to talk about Alice and Tom. So, my next idea, I'm not sure if I believe it, but I find it really interesting and it brings up a point. So, I saw this post from Luna Agorium, who seems to be referencing some theory from Prod Charles. I don't know who made what part of idea, but those are two names that came up with what I saw from this. But anyways, their interesting part of this post is that you can assume that Allison could be Lacie and Tom could be Grant. And you might be like, what? We have these characters determined, Shelby. Why are you going back to this? So I just want to read this theory, which it might have come out before we knew who was who, but I think it's a fun point. So Alice is remarkably handy with machines, and with pretty much everything else, so is Lacie, the woman who worked with machines, and Tom's mechanical arm might just be her doing since she is the one to fix it. Grant doesn't have much proof to back him, but I like to think that a man who spent a lifetime dealing with taxes could carry his anger and annoyance into his cartoon form, that he expresses it by threatening people with angry battling of faxes and knocking down doors. My headcanon now is that Alice is Lacie, which is an anagram of Alice, and Boris is Grant. Now, what I love and hate about this game is that we can have a character whose name is Allison in the game files and the merch, and we can go, maybe that's not Allison, maybe that's Lacie, because that's some fair points of why that could be Lacie, because it's a totally valid theory, because Lacie does know how to fix things, and Alice and Lacie do have the same letters. They do spell each other rearrange. I still feel like Allison is Allison, this Alice. But I like it because we can't trust anything.
We can't trust anything, that's right.
Anything. But the thing is, if we can't trust this, that Allison is Allison because it says so on the merch, then that shows we can't trust anything at all in this game ever. I don't believe in this, but I think it's a fun thing to bring up to doubt everything we've discussed.
Yes, it's good.
But now let's move on to Sammy. This is our last topic. We're going to talk about Sammy for a long time.
Okay.
So, now, one of the most surprising things and confusing things about Sammy in Chapter 5 was not that he's alive, because we knew that already from Chapter 3 if we were paying attention. But the thing is, he felt betrayed by Henry, and there are a few different theories as to why that is, because would you believe you're still a little confused about that, Ariel?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. You're like, I'm just trying to remember that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Here it is, right here. One idea that was kind of from an Anon and the Adobe Out design kind of talking to each other, but from that discussion, one idea could be, since Sammy recently reformed, because he was killed in Chapter 2, he could still have, like, the buzzing, screaming well of voices, or at least some of other voices in his head. That could explain why he uses different pronouns when he's talking to Henry, because he has different minds saying different things. But that doesn't fully explain why he refers to Henry as my lord. So luckily Adobe Out Design does continue to think about other theories and the pronoun switches. So here's another thing they said, and there's no way to shorten this up, so I literally just put the post right here. So he switches between he and you, despite seeming referring to both of them. But I personally think story Joey equals Bendy thing. So because first he says, I trusted you, I gave you everything. You left me rotten. They said he lied, he always lies. So it sounds to me like this probably refers to Joey more than Bendy, because, you know, the creator lied to us and all that. And Bendy doesn't really lie because he doesn't speak. So same goes for this line. He lied to me, said I'd be free, now I have nothing. But then we go back to you pronouns. You lied to me and you said I'd be free. Well, now I'm going to free you now. He's calling both Henry and him liars that promised that he'd be free, and he clearly thinks Henry's someone else, seeing how he's claiming he said something he never did. The only way this makes sense is if he's mistaking Henry for Joey. Considering Bertram did the exact same thing in Chapter 4, it makes sense. He is Bendy, who Sammy now realizes Joey, and he's also mistaking you for Joey, which is why he keeps flipping his pronouns. is the best idea we got, basically. Now, we still have two confusing things if we want to believe this. One is Sammy is mistaking Henry for Bendy or Joey, because that's a thing. So the way he talks definitely makes you think it's at least Bendy with wipe that smile off your face, is one of the things he says. And obviously, we have no proof that Henry is Bendy, but it's definitely not out of the question. You know, he passes out in chapter 1 and sees things, and we can come back up through the ink after dying, so I definitely don't think Henry's human anymore. So we are made of something of ink, but if we go back to our previous theory about our characters we were just talking about taking essences and offerings, it makes sense that Bendy got the illusion of living from Joey, because then it explains why Bertram and Sammy mistake Henry for Joey. If Henry is part of Bendy, then he'd have part of Joey's mind inside him, which is how this can work. It helps put a lot of pieces together in the situation. I don't particularly like building theories off of theories, and we have to assume a lot of things, but we do have a decent amount of evidence that Henry at least appears or is somewhat Bendy-like. The only plot hole to this is, why didn't Sammy think that in chapter 2? He did say we looked familiar, but maybe we didn't fully transform yet. Like, maybe we just passed out and we were just, like, starting to become Bendy, but we haven't fully become Bendy yet. But I think there's another important thing to mention in this next theory. So we're going to assume, for this next theory, that at the very least, Sammy in chapter 5 thinks Henry is Bendy, at least to some degree, if you're good with that.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to assume that for now.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, we still have one confusing thing going on here, which is, why does Sammy think Bendy betrayed him? You know, you could say that he killed him, but that doesn't really fully add up, because if you think of chapter 3 Sammy, which we just have that quote, he says, we've all been waiting and now he will set us free. So he doesn't sound mad at Bendy at all. Plus, if we go to our Hot Topic takeover, he says, I can't recall any injustice on the part of the Ink Demon, which this was taking place after chapter 2. He is most fair. Now, honestly, I take these Hot Topic things to be more canon than Dreams Come to Life.
Yeah.
But like, even if we don't want to believe that, in chapter 3, which we have in the game, he seems normal, and he seems like he's worshipping Bendy like normal. So the Dreamfisher came up with an idea that actually Sammy died a second time in chapter 4, and believed that this swollen searcher here by the chasm is Sammy before he fully reformed. Now, we do have proof with this, since his mask is literally right next to him. He's got his candles around that we talked about in part 1.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Everywhere. Plus, we know when he appears in chapter 5 after we kill him, he can become a searcher before fully forming into Sammy. So it's totally possible that he was a searcher at this moment. So if we believe that he died here, and this is Sammy here, how did he die, and how is he mad at Bendy? Well, in chapter 4, there's a really odd room. I know, this is a very complex theory. So there's this really odd room in chapter 4. Now, even if we believe this theory or not, I definitely believe something went on in this room, because it's a really odd room. There's messages say, come up and see me, almost there, and there's nothing there for Henry. But it really looks like there's an ink trail that someone was jumped and then dragged down the stairs. But who's the victim and who is the perpetrator? Now, they believe that the victim was Sammy because there was an offering right down there, right down here, by the Benji statue in this room. The dream feature said you don't find those offerings in any place other than here and back in chapter 2. It has to be his. Now, I found that is actually false. I found the offering in chapter 3, right here in chapter 3, right next to a book with all the names of the creators of the game. Now, this would make me think, well, you could put offerings anywhere, but what's also interesting is that there's also Sammy's candles. We're going back to my candles. There's also Sammy's candles are with the Meatly in chapter 1. So you could maybe say Sammy's worshipping the creators of the game in a sense as well. If we believe that or not, still, most of the offerings are in chapter 2. So we're just going to be like, alright, sure, Sammy was here. Let's just assume that for now. Now, if Sammy was attacked, who attacked him? The thing is, it was Bendy. But not really. It was a fake Bendy. One that lured him up the stairs to kill him. Sammy would follow his lord anywhere, but then of course he would feel betrayed if he was tricked by him. I think in chapter 2 Sammy was killed, but I don't think he was asked to come upstairs by his lord and then dragged down some stairs and killed violently. I think he felt betrayed and how he was killed more than that he was killed. Like chapter 2 he's like, I disturbed Bendy. I called him and he was angry. That's my bad. This one, Bendy called me up the stairs and then he murdered me. How could he? Kind of thing. Now, why do we think it's Bendy that did this? Or a Bendy? Well, he said he felt betrayed, and when he saw Henry again after this would be, if we believe he died here, this would be the next time he would see a Bendy, if we believe Henry resembles a Bendy. So it would explain that. Plus, there are very curious edits of the Bendy's posters here. This one eye has been marked out, so you don't see this, and you don't see this too much in the game. So, the idea is there's a fake Bendy with one eye that attacks Sammy, and that's how you get the one-eye Bendy theory that I've mentioned a few times. So you see it here, you see it in this is originally fan art here, so I always have trouble trusting fan art, but it's in chapter 3 on the bathrooms. We have it here in Joey's apartment, in like the script of things, which is interesting. It's connected to another Bendy. And then this one I don't know if I trust, but I like talked about this, I swear I did in another theory we did, how I mentioned this Bendy with the shadow eye. It's just a shadow because of the thing, but what's interesting, this is the Bendy that cutout pops out from and has an ink trail leading into the wall, like someone put it there. All of those Bendys do that besides the one in chapter 3, so I just 1 and 2. But it's interesting how it happens to have that left eye shadowed over, which I think is interesting. So, now, this explains why Sammy felt betrayed by Bendy, but I feel like we have a lot of this theory we're assuming to get to this point, which I don't really like doing, to assume this much for this theory. Because we assume that Henry looks like Bendy, we assume that Sammy died twice, that he died again in this room, that these posters don't randomly have ink marks on them. Now, what sells me on this, for this theory, is that besides the fact that it really looks like something happened in the room, we have this lovely image. One-eyed Bendy with the word deceived in chapter 2 in invisible ink. That I feel like, is very purposeful and not an accident. Like, they could, like, that is obviously placed there. There's no way that Amelia just randomly put invisible ink on a one-eyed Bendy with the words deceived. Like, that's literally what Sammy says was deceived, is one of the things he says, and it's got that same left eye blocked out.
Yeah.
So that's what really gets me for that theory. A lot of it I'm like, oh, okay, but then when you see this, it's like, well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. Now, the thing is, too, that this one-eyed Bendy, which the Dream Fisher calls Bender for short, doesn't even need to be a Bendy, since we know from the audio tapes that only one Bendy was made. So, the thing is, it's possible that Bender could have been using a costume, since there are Bendy outfits with messed up eyes around. Plus, there's an idea from the storyboards that real-world characters could have the ability to put on costumes. You see Boris in a Bendy costume here, and we have little costumes around that do have marked up eyes. So it is totally possible this is just, obviously we only have one ink demon, but someone could go around and just purposely put on the costume in order to lure Sammy to kill him, because he knew that maybe he was spawned by Henry. That way Henry could progress through the area, since the only way we could get through that area is literally with that ink from that searcher. There's no other way for us to make the gear to go forward otherwise. So we talked in the other part that these ink messages seem to be guiding Henry, and it might not be for a good reason, and it might be from someone else. So we still have so many obvious mysteries to solve, but, you know, like, who boarded up the ink machine? Who is moving the cutouts, moving boxes, closing door? It has to be someone or something. There are ink trails leading to walls, but who and why? Could all this be the same person? And is it the person we are temporarily calling One-Eyed Bendy or Bender, since that is the only possible idea of what this person looks like? So what I'm hoping, whatever happens in, you know, Bendy and the Dark Revival, we get more info on these kinds of things, but that's been my wish since chapter 1, so I don't know how much hope I'm going to put in that, but it would be a fun adventure. Though Bender may be involved in the new game, since it's in the trailer. We have a new mysterious voice based off the YouTube videos, plus in the recording, as of this time, we're recording this, what day is it? November 12th, we only have one gameplay trailer. And in that trailer, there's that Bendy with that left covered eye. So, we also have leaks of the new merch, which Ariel we're going to discuss soon. We do have a new Bendy here, and guess what? He's got little marks on that left side.
Yeah.
And they all are on that left side, so it makes me very suspicious. So, any discussions on that before we move forward?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty cool theory, I think.
It's
and
a
there's
pretty
definitely,
cool theory.
yeah, and there's definitely something with this left eye bendy thing.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't know. I think that last point you made with the deceived and like how prevalent this left eye bendy is, like really
me.
Yeah, it seals the deal on this theory. I don't know what else the purpose of a one-eyed bendy would be, a second bendy, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it sounds pretty good.
There's a lot, what bugs me is there's a lot to assume, but this seals the deal for me. Because this is no way an accident. And it makes all the pieces fit together very nicely, if we think of it that way.
Yes, that's true.
It is very, I love it a lot. So, back to where I was. So, now that we have recently had some new things revealed about Dark Revival, but anything you want to discuss about Bendy and the Ink Machine in general, or theories that we have discussed, or any ideas you want to go on before we move on to teasers that have been released. And by the way, this is the shirt was released at Hot Topic, which was the first thing released under Bendy and the Dark Revival.
Oh, cool.
So, this may be our new Bendy.
Yeah, it must be.
Must be. But any thoughts real quick before we go on to things that have been released recently? We actually have had characters and merch. Character has been released officially. Merch has been leaked. But I know you have not seen them. They just came out a couple days ago from our perspective. I don't know when this video is coming out, but at this point, this is all I got to go off of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything?
I mean, in general, no, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think we've touched on everything that's unanswered, and the fact that we can't know unless we get some more clues.
Yeah.
Unless somebody unlocks something that we haven't been able to yet, or if they touch on it in Dark Revival.
Yeah.
So, let's move on to Dark Revival.
Sounds good. So,
Woo!
welcome to Audrey.
Thank you. Audrey is beautiful.
She is beautiful. I know this is your first time seeing her. So this is our new protagonist, is confirmed. This is Audrey. This is who we play as. Now, there's a few interesting things people have discovered with her or thought about her. But she seems mostly human, which is interesting. But she does have, like, the glowing eyes like a lost one. So she does seem to be in the process of transforming into our best guest, an Alice. But who knows? It is also interesting that she has a glowing golden hand.
Yeah.
And Patricia Fisher pointed out that the swirl looks very similar to the swirl on the wall when you first get the seeing tool. It would be interesting if Henry has a similar pattern or not. So any comments on Audrey before we move on to other new characters?
She also has a glowing eyes. Like, she can automatically see the golden ink without a seeing tool or something. Like, it's the same color as the glowing ink on her hand.
I didn't think about that, because that would also mean all the lost ones can see the glowing ink, but that could make sense too.
Can they?
They
it
have
could,
glowing
I
eyes
guess.
like that. Yeah, we don't know how the lost ones see, so that would be interesting if the lost ones could see those messages. It would actually throw some things into interesting loops with the theories if multiple creatures could see those things without the tool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I like that idea.
That's my idea.
So we'll see how much she's connected. I feel like she's got to have some connection to the golden ink.
Yeah,
we'll
definitely with her hand.
Yeah, we got some things going on. It could be something else. Like, I know we talked about in our last video from the trailer that maybe she's, like, able to absorb the ink, and maybe that's just her tool to do that, but we'll see what happens. We don't have enough to go off of.
Okay.
But to the next thing. We have Bendy's. I'm very excited. So the Ink Demon also has a new design. Plus, we have a whole new Bendy, which I'm very excited about because it was stated in the first game that no other Bendy was made, which makes this suit Bendy here very interesting. So, though we'll have to see how much Dark Revival relates to the previous game, since it's not a prequel or sequel. We'll have to see like how much it relates, but Is this Bendy Henry? Is it Joey in the studio? Is it our One-Eye Bendy since it has the marks? Is it the unknown voice from the trailer? It does seem to be someone transformed since they do have like a kind of normal outfit, so it does remind me of Tom and Alice, kind of how their designs are. But the thing is that though, oh gosh, I'm not going to pronounce this either, URJHA, they had an idea that maybe this is all the same Bendy. So the protagonist seems to be able to change their appearance at least a little bit from the trailer because you know how they touch it and they became more inky when they touched Piper. So maybe the Ink Demon can transform too. Maybe he can switch back and forth from being the cartoon Bendy to an Ink Demon. If we have a new Bendy running around, or just like the same Bendy able to transform into almost a perfect Bendy. Either way, it's super exciting since we never had any other Bendy before, and I'm really curious what happens with it. But what are your thoughts or things you want to discuss for Dark Revival, or you want things that Dark Revival to answer?
I mean, okay, so Dark Revival could be really cool if they really play with this like multiple bendy thing, or like
I'm excited.
yeah, multiple bendies would be really awesome. Or like to see what Henry's role is. I mean, maybe since we're not playing as Henry, we're gonna get to see what he looks like, and maybe he looks like one of these bendies.
What if he's that? Like that would be crazy.
That would be awesome. So I'm sure Dark Revival is gonna answer this to an extent, you know.
We're gonna at least find out what these bendies are. That like we're gonna have to, and I think it has to be in this first chapter because why would they have merch for it otherwise? So I think we'll see all three of these bendies in that first chapter, which I'm so excited about. Like we got this crazy bendy that people are like, oh my gosh, they stole Sammy's abs. So like that's gonna be running around. What's interesting is that bendy kind of looks more like how Bendy's described in the Dreams Come to Life book. So I'm curious if that book will play more of a role in Dark Revival. But we'll see how he moved. Like, because in that one he had like they described the grin more like that, and he was definitely much faster. And this Bendy looks really intense and fast, and I don't know how he's going to be chasing us around that studio. But it'd be interesting if like, because we have here this Bendy is kind of like the Bendy we have now, except he has shoes on in this hand, even though it's still kind of gloved. This is very close to our normal Bendy, just abs and a smile, and I guess he's got shoes too. So, and then this one kind of changes a little, and then we got this, which this is going to be incredible to see, no matter if it's the same Bendy or not. Like, I'm really curious how this character is going to be like. I feel like he's going to be super creepy if we run into him. Like, if that smile doesn't change, I'm really excited for it, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's creepy as heck.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. And, like, he wears such a normal outfit. So it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder. I don't know. I'm excited for that. This is what makes me the most excited out of our things for Dark Revival. I want to know what's happening with that Bendy.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So that's all I got. Obviously there's a lot more theories out there, so if anyone wants to like look at, you know, the Dreamfisher has tons and tons and tons of theories that I didn't even touch, and like they're very observant with things. They played this game so much, like they have a thing like they noticed that, you know, in chapter 2, after you turn on I forget which ink switch, but basically right before you get knocked out by Sammy, if you go to Wally's closet, the dustpan's gone because that's what Sammy uses to knock you out. So even little details like that are just crazy that they put them in there.
Yeah.
So like the Dreamfisher goes into so many little details like that, and I just pulled the theories that I thought were the most important and interesting to us that might come up with the new game or could lead to something else, but. You know, we've talked about Adobe's outdesigns for a while now, so, like, we said a lot of their theories. But there's just so many, and I've mentioned a few other people besides those two, too. But if anyone wants to see other theories, those Adobe Outdesign and the Dreamfisher are, in my opinion, the best people to look into for theories. And I just collect what I think is interesting. And share them in a nice PowerPoint manner.
Yes, it was a very nice PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. It took way too long to make.
I'm sure. It's so detailed. You even have, like, in her notes page that I have pulled up here, which is 16 pages long, she
Right,
has
my
marked,
notes.
like, the slide number
Oh,
of what she
yeah.
wants to talk about for each thing within
Yep.
the notes. Like, it's very organized.
There's like slide 1, 2, and then it's gonna have all the
Oh, yeah,
links
yeah.
that we're gonna put in descriptions and like what that whole thing's about. I got
Yeah.
real organized with this one. Got really
It was
intense.
great. Made it easy to go through.
Yeah, I knew there was too much to cover, and I knew we couldn't just
Yeah.
wander the studio like we usually do. I was like, there's
Yeah,
no way we
definitely
have
not.
time for that. So I was like, all right, I'm getting serious. I started this in August, and here we are in November.
Yeah.
Didn't work on it every day, but I did put a lot of hours into this. But I think it will also make it easier for me to edit, which I appreciate to my future
Yeah,
self. Um,
definitely.
so yeah. But yeah, any last comments before we say, all right, now we just wait for Dark Revival?
All right. All hail the ink demon. Drink your ink if you want to be strong like Popeye the Sailor Man. I think that's how it goes.
Drink your ink and bacon soup, and you get abs.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Maybe,
He's got the abs, and then
maybe
goes to the abs.
that's how you get the abs.
That's how
Oh
you
my
get the
gosh.
abs. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you when Dark Revival comes out. Or actually, probably something
Yes.
else first if we're recording something else.
Yes.
But yeah. Cool. Thanks. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.